What's up, you guys? Anthony here. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to show you how to create viral unaware ads that will allow you to scale your dropshipping business to its first $1,000 a day and even well beyond that mark. Now, as you can see on screen, unaware ads are some of my most profitable ads that are currently in my ad account. Not only do they tend to drive the lowest CPA, but they also tend to drive a lot of really good engagement. And this ad in this niche has been ripped off like so many times, but as you can see, we've got almost 1,000 or over 1,000 likes, hearts, 161 comments, and 110 shares. And what I want to do in this video is explain to you what an unaware ad is, how it can help you scale if you're currently struggling to stay consistent with sales, or you just hit a plateau at like 2 to 3K a day and you can't really scale further. Then unaware ads are probably something that you can use to be able to break past these plateaus, get more consistency, and ultimately make more money with your dropshipping business. So without wasting time, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Now, for those of you that are new, what is an unaware ad? When we say how to make unaware ads, what does that actually mean? So on the surface, this just looks like a pretty typical Facebook ad, right? When we say unaware, what that refers to is breakthrough advertising's 5 stages of awareness. So Eugene Schwartz, one of the most famous direct mail copywriters of all time, one of the absolute OGs. Think of, I wouldn't say he's the Michael Jordan. He's like the Dr. J, I would say. Like Dr. J of, if for those of you guys that get basketball references, he's like the Dr. J of modern direct response advertising, in my opinion. And he introduced this concept called the 5 stages of awareness. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're only going to concern ourselves with the unaware stage. Now, essentially what this concept is, it looks a little bit complicated if you've never seen it before, but all this is here to do is to describe how much your current avatar knows about their problem and your product. So on the furthest end of the spectrum, we have people who are most aware, which is people who know of our product, they know of our brand, they know everything that it does, and they might even know that they need it. They just haven't gotten around to purchasing it yet. So most aware ads, product aware ads, are typically going to try and sell the product very directly. They're not going to use very much storytelling. So I have some examples here of what I would classify as most aware ads. As you can see in the copy, if somebody sees this on their feed, the first thing they're going to see is an offer. They're going to see limited time holiday sale, lock in 40% off, free shipping, 1-year guarantee. There's no education in the copy. There's no introduction of the problem. We're not talking about how great the fountain is. It's literally just, here is a really good offer, because this ad is designed to speak to people who already know what the product does. And again, they might even know that they already want it. They just need an offer to get them over the edge. Now, if we contrast that on the opposite end or the opposite extreme of this spectrum here, we have what are called unaware ads. And these are people that don't even know of their desire. They're not even aware that they have a desire or that they have a problem that could be solved by a product. And they don't know about the product at all. So these are people that aren't aware of a desire or problem, and they won't honestly admit it. So prospects at this stage, again, are unaware that they have any sort of problem. So for an unaware ad, we're not going to, or people who are unaware, sending them an ad or putting an ad in front of them that says, hey, check out the best selling cat fountain, for a person who doesn't even think that they need one, or they're not even aware that they could ever need one. That type of an ad obviously wouldn't convert. Now, why do we want to create unaware ads? And why are unaware ads some of the most profitable that you can create, while also some of the most scalable ads that you can create? The reasoning is very simple. If you think about the awareness stage in this visual here, obviously most aware ads in terms of audience size are typically going to be your smallest audience size, because these are the people that know your brand, know your product, know that they want the product, and all they need is an offer to get over the edge. Now, especially if you're a drop shipper and you're just starting out and you have no organic social media, you have no community, you have no customers, barely any customers, 100 customers is nothing, then this most aware audience is likely, probably represents less than a fraction of a percent of your potential market, because people just don't know who you are. Product aware, on the other hand, as you can see, doesn't require people, well, really quick, it doesn't require that people know about your brand, but they know about your product specifically. Now, as you can see, just logically, most aware is going to be the smallest, and that leaves unaware to be the largest in this circle, as you can see. So it's the largest audience size because majority of people in any total addressable market are going to be unaware, meaning they don't yet know that they have a problem or they're not actively in the market to solve a problem. So this is also going to be the largest audience size, but consequently, because it's the largest audience size and because it's a section of your audience that knows nothing about their problem, knows nothing about the solution, it's 9 times out of 10 the least competitive subset of the total addressable market. Because if you go into the ad library, everybody is creating the typical Facebook ads where it's like, are you tired of back pain? Buy this posture corrector. If you just type cat water fountain into the Facebook ad library, you're going to see a ton of most aware ads, product aware ads, ads that showcase just direct offers. Like here is a really good example. This is just a straight up offer for the product. This one's an early Black Friday sale. Here's some more offers. Here's people ripping my ads off. Obviously, cat water fountain is a bit of a bad example because a lot of people are ripping off my unaware ads. But if we do an example like mouth tape, and you can replicate this with any product. Am I about to get demonetized here with some of these stories here? Oh shit, I'm gonna get demonetized. Okay, so because the previous examples almost got me demonetized, I want to show you some examples of most dropshippers are going to try to create ads when they say, I want to create image ads, right? Or when most people create image ads, they're creating shit like this, right? Ads that look like ads that are designed to just push the product. Any ad that has a product in front of it is inherently going to be product aware, right? Or at the very least, like solution aware, because you're starting with a potential solution, or you're starting with your product instead of starting further up the awareness stage with the problem itself. And so because the majority of people, if you look, let's try like neck pain, right? Majority of dropshippers that get into the space and that are starting out, they're all going to create these same like ripped calo data. They're going to download calo data videos, stick them into CapCut, mash them up, and then create these like very generic UGC ads that just try and sell. Or they're going to create like shit like this, where it's just like offer, really boring statics that just try and push the product. And so majority of dropshippers are typically, unbeknownst to themselves because they're not watching the content, are creating ads for these lower stages of awareness, which is why the CPMs are really, really high when you try to just sell the product directly. And less people are targeting unaware because it's very difficult to do. And that's one of the key things with an unaware ad is it represents or unaware ads rather, is they're targeting typically the largest, least competitive subset of your audience. But at the same time, it's the least competitive for a reason. Because if you're targeting someone that is unaware, you effectively have to make them realize that they have a problem, make them think about solutions, make them realize your product is a solution, and then recognize that your brand is the best place to get that solution, all within the scope of one single ad. Obviously, it's hard enough to get people's attention on social media with organic content, let alone ads. So getting somebody from unaware to eventually most aware can be very, very difficult to do and can be very difficult to achieve unless you follow this strategy, which I'm about to show you in this video. So how do we actually go about the process of creating unaware ads? All right, so to create an unaware ad, let's start with the image. Now, I want you to take a look at this image and contrast that with some of the images that you see here. Notice in my image, if we're going to create an unaware ad, we're targeting people, firstly, that don't yet know that they have a problem, that don't yet know that they even want a solution. They're not even conscious or aware of any of these things. So it doesn't make sense to, if we're going to try and go after the least competitive, largest unaware audience of our market, it makes absolutely zero sense to show them anything to do with the product because, again, these guys they haven't even acknowledged that they have migraine. So if I say goodbye migraine with a pillow ad on it, they're not going to resonate with it. This is all about grabbing as many people as possible who don't yet know that they have a problem. And so when you are selecting your image ad for creating your unaware ad, you want to focus on images that have literally nothing to do with a product or solution or even the problem. You want to pick images that rather drive some type of emotional response, that elicit some type of feeling. So if somebody sees the image, they're going to be captivated by the emotions that they're feeling. And then once they're captivated, they're going to give you a couple seconds at most to read the hook. So all we want to do is focus on how can we get an image that will create some type of emotional response and drive somebody after they see the image. We've got their attention to read this first sentence up here, this hook right here. Okay. That's all we're focused on doing. So in the case of this, right, this particular image, I chose a very sad cat. Now, notice there's nothing to do with this cat being dehydrated. If we're using the example of a cat water fountain, this product obviously solves for cats who are dehydrated, that need to drink more water, that are at risk of kidney disease. None of that is showing up in here. All I've chosen is a photo of a cat looking a little bit sad. So it's intriguing, but it's also creating that emotional response. There's a reason why if you grew up watching those, there's like these ads way back in the day on TV for like animal shelters, and they play this really, really sad music, and they just do a slideshow of all the pets. And then like 30 seconds in, Sarah McLachlan comes in, the host or whatever, and then asks for a donation. So the reason why they do that is to drive an emotional response. And then they know once they've hooked you in emotionally, asking you to make a donation is going to be a lot easier than if they just ask for it straight away. So for whatever your market is, pick an image that drives curiosity and elicits some type of emotional response. I just wanted to give one more example. So if I was selling this product here, which is a migraine relief pillow or a cervical neck pillow, and let's say I was targeting the desire, let's say I was targeting a secondary surface desire, which is I want to be able to sleep in the same bedroom as my partner, or I want to regain intimacy with my partner. I would choose an image knowing that I'm going after that desire. People who are unaware of that desire, I would choose an image that looks like this. Now, obviously, ignore the Shutterstock text here, and also ignore the fact that this is a widow lying in bed, because it's pretty fucked up to leverage that in an ad, but you get the general point of what I'm saying here. We're not, as you can see, if our pillow solves neck pain, we're not showing somebody's aching neck or like a neck with like a red overlay on it. We're just showcasing an image, right, that grabs attention, which this does, because it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then it drives that emotional response, like the arm reaching out to the other side, her facial expression here. And all we're focused on is creating an emotional response and grabbing attention. Nothing to do with the product. Now, the image is the easy part. Now let's get to the copy. Now, when we're writing the copy for our unaware ads, it's important to remember that unlike literally any other awareness level, like a problem aware level, we can't directly call out the problem, nor can we directly call out the product, because at this stage of awareness, again, I keep beating a dead horse here, but the prospect isn't even aware that they have a problem. So if we say, are you worried about your cat being dehydrated? If somebody isn't even aware that cat dehydration is a thing, they're not going to resonate with that. You're not going to grab their attention. So how do you grab the attention of people in the unaware audience of your market? There's really 3 things that you could focus on, and we're going to draft up a beginning, middle, and end, as well as give you a fully built out prompt that I'm using in my ad account and that our community members are using in their ad accounts to be able to create copy. But we're going to create copy focusing on 3 specific things. So because we can't call out the problem directly, what can we call out in order to captivate someone's attention and to create relatability and then eventually move them down the awareness stage until they're most aware? So we can't focus on the problem, but what we can focus on is the first is behaviors. Okay. So how does this person behave on a day-to-day basis? How do they interact with their cat, their spouse, their kids on a day-to-day basis? Behaviors are things that people do. So in the case of a cat water fountain, let's say somebody is feeding their cat dry food. That could be a behavior that we resonate with our audience, or that we use in our copy to create that resonance and relatability with our audience without calling out the problem. So we have behaviors. Next, we're going to talk about experiences, or another thing that we can leverage is an experience. So what has this person gone through? Are there things that have happened to them, or things that indirectly they've experienced by hearing about it from their friends, their family, or maybe even like an authority figure like a veterinarian? So we have behaviors, experiences, and then emotions. So even if somebody isn't aware of their problem, they can potentially resonate with the emotions that having that problem resonate. So for example, even if I don't know that cat dehydration is a thing, I can still feel anxiety about my cat dying and getting sick. I can still feel fear about my cat dying and getting sick. And so these three categories, behaviors, experience, and emotion, or experiences and emotions, are three things that you want to focus on in your ad copy in order to captivate someone's attention and to get them to buy. Now, notice, because we're not starting with something like a problem or the product, you're going to attract people that are much more receptive to reading the copy, because we're not talking about the less we talk about a problem and the less we talk about a product, the less people feel like they're being sold to. And that is amazing, because nobody likes to feel sold to. That is how we can sort of like infiltrate their psyche and, little unbeknownst to them, move them from unaware to most aware. So if you look at my example copy here, you'll notice my hook isn't, are you worried about your cat dying? Are you worried about cat dehydration? Are you worried about XYZ? All it is it's a story-based hook that grabs attention and makes people want to keep reading. So it was 2:47 a.m. when I realized the sound Max was making wasn't normal cat behavior. And then we'll go to the actual copy here. And yes, you guys are going to get, this document is linked below, so you can get access to my top 4 performing copy right now. And of all time, this is like my top performer of all time. It was 2:47 when I realized the sound Max was making wasn't normal cat behavior. It was the sound of a cat slowly dying, and I'd been hearing it for days. Now, I brought this up in our Q&A the other day. It was Thursday. I got so many comments of people saying, you heard your cat dying for days? What the fuck is wrong with you? Which is a fair point. But you can see how something like this grabs attention and makes people want to keep reading. Like, okay, your cat was slowly dying and you'd been hearing it for days. What the fuck's going on there? Like, what's wrong with you? Then you'll see this section of the copy, right? And we typically spend this section, and we classify this as the lead or the beginning of the copy. You notice I have nothing here to sell. There's absolutely nothing going on that indicates that I'm going to sell something in this ad. So I live here as demographic information, right? I describe my cat, what he means to me, and then I go into the story right here, basically showcasing and introducing the problem. And then if we scroll all the way down, then we get into the agitation of the problem. So at this point, the cat is in this story is basically going through the prospect's worst nightmare, which is getting sick. But notice how we haven't introduced the problem until way down here. All we did in this beginning part was, through engaging storytelling, captivate somebody's emotion. So if you were to read this part here, only this section here, you would have no idea that this is an ad. And the reason why is because we're using something in this copy which is called a story-based lead. Now, I'm combining a lot of information here, which is why this is going to be a really dense video. But if you guys have read the book Great Leads, if not, I highly recommend you do. Great Leads is a book by Michael Masterson, one of just an absolute copywriting giant who worked at Agora Financial. And he devised 6 lead types, or basically 6 different ways you can begin your ad copy depending on your market's stage of awareness. Now, obviously, if you have people who are most aware, or he calls them loyal and product aware, you don't really need storytelling. You can make them an offer, you can make them a big promise, and they will buy, right? Now, if you look at the unaware stage, as you can see here, the best way or most effective way to sell people who are unaware is to hit them with a story lead. And that's because it is the most indirect, or rather it's the least direct selling copywriting framework, because we're telling a story. We're not focused on selling the product outright. So then the question then becomes, okay, how do we generate these story leads? And then how do we generate copy overall that will actually do the job of resonating with this unaware audience and driving more sales? All right, you guys, so this is the prompt that I'm going to be giving in the description of this video that you can use to start creating some unaware ads. Now, there's a couple things that you are going to need to provide to the AI or to the LLM that you're using, which is your brand name, your product name, your website URL, product description, or you can use an Amazon listing, the mass desire that you're targeting. So you should already have an idea of what your customers actually want to get by using the product, and then the emotional desire or the dominant feeling that drives it. So again, if somebody says they want their cat to be healthy or they want their cat to drink more water, then what they're really saying is, I'm scared my cat will die, or I'm anxious about my cat dying. So provide all of these, copy the entire prompt. So press Command A and then Command C if you're on Mac, and then bring it into a LLM window. I'm going to use Claude for this example. and make sure that you have deep research or research mode enabled. Then what you're going to do is paste all that in. It's going to confirm a few details with you, which is your product website. It's also going to confirm the product description and everything that the product can do. And then it's going to say, all right, good to go. Type begin research to start the next phase. And now what it's doing is it's doing deep research to find the stories that we can then use to generate our story leads for this unaware audience. So we're going to let this cook. It's getting a shit ton of resources, and we'll check back in a second here. Alrighty, so the deep research is now complete. We have, as you can see here, across 307 sources, which is absolutely insane. We now have a compilation of 5 different stories that we can use to start crafting our copy. So I just went ahead and went with the first story for the purposes of example, but now you have 5 different stories that are pulled directly from specific sources that describe the situation, the trigger moments, the emotions, direct quotations, so you can see it firsthand for yourself. And then all you need to do is say, okay, now continue with the prompt with this story. So now it's going to start drafting up some potential story leads. And from there, we can basically decide on what we want to choose for our story. All right, so I went ahead and selected story 2. Next, we're going to start coming up with, or selecting rather, our big idea for the copy. So we want to focus on one big idea for the copy because it's going to make it easy to understand as well as easy to believe. So it's very clear what we're saying. Now, the big idea here. Now, if you don't get one that you like, you can basically just retry, or you can say, generate me 5 more or whatever. For me, I actually really like this hook here, the mistake 90% of cat owners make every single day, because again, all we're doing here is driving curiosity. We're not directly stating any particular problem, and we're leaving it kind of vague by saying the mistake. We're not referring to any specific like type of problem. So we're just going to say 6 and then generate. Okay, so from here, we're going to get a targeting summary. It's basically just going to remind us what components of our copy, what they are. So we have our surface desire, I want my cat to drink more water. The emotional desires there is I want to protect my cat from suffering and death. Dominant emotion there is fear. Driving beliefs, so based on the research, my cat seems fine. If something was wrong, I'd notice. I give her fresh water every day. That's enough. Cats are independent. They take care of themselves. These are all pre-existing beliefs that if we don't address in the copy, we're not going to actually convince anybody that they need our product. Then we have the observed behaviors, again, in the research. Speaking of cats, this is my cat, Momo. Momo? All right, back to sleep. Sleeping on my desk right now. All right, so observed behaviors, refilling the same water bowl every day, feeding dry kibble, occasionally noticing the cat drinking from the faucet. These are all behaviors that our avatar, who's unaware so far, is exhibiting in their day-to-day lives. Again, all of this is based on the research. And then here's the unaware state summary. So the avatar believes they are a good cat owner doing everything right. They don't realize that still water in a bowl triggers their cat's survival instincts to avoid it. They don't know that cats have a dangerously low thirst drive. Again, they just believe that everything is fine. Everything is fine. And that if there was something wrong, they would see it. That's basically the summary of our avatar. So from there, it's going to give us a few different angles we can choose to write the initial copy. Now, I'm going to go with angle 2 because I really love this idea of the blind spot. So we're just going to go like this. And then we're going to go on to generate the unique mechanism behind the problem and then the unique mechanism behind the solution. So I know from having run this product that this UMP and UMS is what works the best. And again, as a reminder here, the UMP is basically the explanation as to why the problem exists or the underlying cause of the problem. And then the UMS, or unique mechanism behind the solution, explains how our product specifically solves that problem. So we say the unique cause of why your cat won't drink water is because still water, any form of still water, develops bacteria, which your cats can detect. And that is why our product solves this by having a continuous flow, which triggers their natural instinct to drink water. So we're going to go with option 1 here. And the reason why I love this prompt is because you're literally building it step by step, and you can approve and disprove, certain sections. So let's see here. Now we're basically getting some of the hook options here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and decide. Let's see. I kind of like number one. Let's just go with number one. Now, honestly, these hooks aren't the most ideal. I think some of them are a little bit too specific, but for the purposes of example, so you guys can see what the finished product should look like for an underwear ad, then this will be really helpful. But it still grabs attention. For 12 years, I poured kibble into Mia's bowl every morning. I didn't know I was slowly destroying her kidneys. So again, we are in targeting unaware, right? And so they didn't know. But going back to the three things that we can focus on for an unaware ad, we're targeting a specific behavior in this case. So we're not saying, or like from the perspective of this copy, that we knew that feeding dry food would lead to this issue. We're just saying for 12 years I was doing this and I didn't know I was slowly destroying her kidneys. Okay, so now we are going to write the rest of the lead, and all of these sections have been predetermined by me in the prompt. So we go through, after we write the hook, we're going to do immediate identification, which is basically where we get somebody to relate with our copy by describing their problem in their own words. Then we amplify that. So this is where we agitate the pain and showcase different failed solutions. This is where we also are going to heighten the emotional desire. So if our emotional desire or emotion in this case is fear, then we want to amplify that in this piece of copy here. So let's type approved, and I'm just going to say approved, generate the full copy in one response now for me to use. Just because this video is dragging quite long, I want to get it done. All right, so now it's going to draft the entire piece of copy, and we'll check back when this is done. All right, so now we have generated the full ad copy section by section, and now I have the finished copy here at the bottom. And what we can do now is bring this into a new Google document so we can see what we have here. Now, this is the fully finished unaware ad. We're just going to get rid of all the horizontal lines here. Not sure why Claude does that. Let's just get rid of this. All right. Honestly, I think there's only a couple more. All right, so here is our fully finished unaware ad. And if you are using this prompt step by step, you are actually going to get the output in these sections first. So what a lot of people fail to realize when they're writing long form copy is unless you give Claude or ChatGPT specific sections to abide by, it's just going to go off the rails and tell just this crazy over the top dramatic story. And just telling a story is not enough to write a strong unaware ad. There needs to be an actual step-by-step framework that you follow, which is why this framework exists in this copy, which is, again, as a reminder, hook, grab attention, immediate identification, make someone feel, oh shit, it's like they're talking to me. We amplify whatever emotion it is they're trying to feel more of or less of, in this case, fear. We introduce them to the real problem or the unique mechanism behind the problem. Then we introduce the unique mechanism behind the solution, which is our product and how it specifically solves their particular problem. Then we go into the discovery section, which is how they found the product. Then we demonstrate the transformation. Then we do a call to action. Now, this call to action, I will say, is a little bit more aggressive than I would do for any type of ad. It's kind of setting the stakes a little bit too dramatically, if I'm being honest. You don't need to go crazy over the top, like either buy this or you fucking die. Like you can just say, hey, this worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. That's a strong enough call to action as is, especially for an unaware ad, and especially if you have other landing pages that are going to come after this creative. So now that you have the fully finished unaware ad, you're pretty much 100% ready to run this. All you need to do now is just make sure you get rid of, I don't put the URL in my ads because if I use post IDs and I change URLs and things like that, it can make things a little bit complicated. But this is the copy fully generated from research in accordance with a prompt that leverages some of the most effective copywriting principles of all time from both breakthrough advertising and great leads. And it is a directly reverse engineered from some of my top performing copy of all time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you create unaware ads that will allow you to scale without having to fight your competitors for scraps at the bottom of the barrel. You can create unaware ads that will allow you to resonate with the largest portion of your market, at least competitive portion of your market, and completely dominate and scale to new levels. So guys, that is going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the content as always. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I do apologize for the lack of videos as of late. I am currently in the process of updating our course curriculum inside of God Tier Ecom to God Tier 3.0, which is going to be one of the most powerful systems. I'm so excited for this to come out, but that is why I've just been laboring away night and day, 8 hours a day, trying to get this thing ready and released to the public. But as always, all the resources, including this unaware ad prompt, are linked in the description. No lead magnet. You don't have to give me your email or any of that bullshit. You can just click the description to get it. I'm also going to drop my top performing copy here in the description of this video as well. So you can model this if you want to use it as an example or a frame of reference for any ad copy that you want to write. But the example copy is going to be down below, and then the unaware ad prompt is also going to be down below. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you did, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you're struggling with, what kinds of videos you'd want to see next, so I can make content on that and help you guys out. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Have a good weekend. Catch you in the next one. Peace.